He had already been found injured in his cell a few weeks ago. Then the multimillionaire was found dead in the New York jail where he was awaiting trial. An apparent suicide. The convicted pedophile was facing up to 45 years behind bars on sex trafficking and conspiracy charges. Epstein, a high-powered investor, was accused of having sexually abused girls as young as 14 at parties in his Palm Beach villa, where he reportedly passed the girls on to his guests. What made the case explosive was the financier's connections to public figures, including British Royal Prince Andrew, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, as well as the sitting president Donald Trump. Charges were already brought against him in 2008. A controversial plea deal spared him time in prison.
If I wasn't afraid to come forward sooner, then maybe he wouldn't have done it to other girls. I feel really guilty. To this day, I feel really guilty.
A conviction for Epstein could have meant the rest of his life in prison. Now many questions remain. Will the authorities further investigate the sex trafficking allegations, and will possible accomplices be held to account?
Earlier, we spoke to DW correspondent Pablo Foley-Elias in Washington. We asked him about the reaction to Jeffrey Epstein's death among U.S. political leaders and law enforcement officials.
The reaction to the death of Jeffrey Epstein has been one of shock and anger here in the United States. In fact, the Attorney General, William Barr, said that he was appalled to learn that Jeffrey Epstein had been found dead in an apparent suicide. He said that in addition to the FBI investigation, he had consulted with the Inspector General, who's opening an investigation too. Also, senators such as the Republican Senator Ben Sasse said that he had written a letter to the Attorney General in which he said the Justice Department had failed, and Epstein's co-conspirators must think now that they had gotten one last sweet deal. The mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, and also one of the candidates for president, he's a Democrat, said that some of the wealthiest people in the world committed a horrible crime, and if they think for a second that they had gotten away with it because Jeffrey Epstein is dead, he said they're dead wrong. Many questions are also being raised over how this could have happened, considering that just weeks ago, Jeffrey Epstein had been found unresponsive in his prison cell in what was being investigated as a attempted suicide. But of course, the shift now focuses to Jeffrey Epstein's victims, those who had accused him of some very serious crimes indeed. What happens now? Representatives for them have said that they are going to push ahead, perhaps with civil action lawsuits. But of course, it's early days. There's also a lot of spotlight now on many of the names that have been mentioned in relation to the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Many well-known names from the world of politics, of business, of entertainment. So what exactly was their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? So in the days and weeks now that are ahead of us, I'm sure that we're going to be hearing more and more over where this case against Jeffrey Epstein is going to end up. But it's definitely far from over, despite his death from an apparent suicide in New York City.